Hey guys, I was emailed some questions about 3.3, so I decided just to do a video for everyone to go over some of the stuff on 3.3. So I'm going to share the screen and do the whiteboard. And I just picked some different questions from the homework section 3.3 on solving trig equations. And so I'm just going to kind of work through some of these with you guys. So this is 3.3a. And let's look at question 3 first. And again, your questions may be a little bit different than this one. So it gives you the cosine of 5 theta equals negative 0.4475. And so what this means is you're looking for some kind of angle that's going to be equal to negative 4475. And if you think about cosine, cosine is x over r, right? Your x value. So that means x is negative. So that would be in quadrant 2 or quadrant 3. So if you think about it, it's going to be some angle here, okay, and then some angle here, okay. So here's our two different angles that you're thinking about. So what we would first do is we would need to find cosine, and you would just put in your calculator the inverse of cosine of negative 0.4475 in your calculator. And you need to make sure that you are in radian mode on the calculator, okay? And when you do this first one, it's going to give you this first angle here. And when you do that, you're going to get 2.034764171. Okay, and remember this will be plus 2 pi k. If you wanted to find more angles, again, we're going to do the smallest one. The question asks for the smallest. So we're going to let k be 0 here. So what that means is that this angle from here to here is equal to 2.03476. Okay, I'm going to stop there. All right. So now we need to figure out, okay, what is from here to here? Okay. So if you think about it, we really need to know what this angle measure is, okay? And then that would be the same as this angle measure. So to do that, you would take, remember from here to here, this is pi over 2, this is 3 pi over 2, and this is 2 pi, right? So if you want to find this angle measure, you would do pi minus that 2.03476. And when you do that in the calculator, you're going to get like 1.10683. So that means that this angle here from here to here is that, and so this is also that. So now if you want to find from here to here, okay, this total here, you could either add these three up, or you could just take your pi and add that 1.06, and that's going to give you our other angle measure. So pi plus 1.10683. So you get 5 theta equals, it was 4.248425. It's 2 pi k, okay? And so these are our two angle measures. And then the last thing we have to do here is we have to get rid of this 5. So we divide this by 5 and we divide this by 5. And so what we're going to end up with is 0.4069, which is approximately 0.407 is one angle measure. That's this one. And then 0.84968, which is approximately 0.8497. Okay, so that's how you do that one. Let's do another one. This is question 4. And it gave you sine of 8 theta equals 0.4661. Okay, now think about sine. Sine is your y, and then we're looking at a positive value here. So here is y, and here's positive. So it's going to be either in quadrant 1 or quadrant 2. And so we're looking at this angle measure from here to here. And then if you think about it on this side, from there to there would be the second one. Okay. So what we're going to do first is we're going to let 8 theta, and you're going to put the inverse of sine of 0.4661 in the calculator, and we will get 0.4848775189 plus 2 pi k. And again, we're going to let k be 0 here. Now remember, you need to be in radian mode. Okay, so this value is this 0.48487. Okay, now we want to find from here to here. So again, to find this, we would do pi minus that 0.4847. And you would get this angle is 2.657. Okay. And so then you would do, to find from there to there, you would do I minus that to get this. Okay. And so you would end up with 8 theta equals, okay, again, sorry guys. To get this angle measure, you would do pi minus 2.657. Let's put that in the calculator. 2.56, no, 65. 6567. All right. Yeah. Okay, second. 4, 8. So this will be 2.656 plus 2 pi k. And then the last thing you would do is you would divide by 8, and you end up with theta equals 0.060609, and you can round that to whatever that question asks. And this one be 0.332. Okay. Yeah, so this measure was 0.4847. So to find this angle is you would do pi minus that, and you would get this. All right. Next question. All right, question 8. Square root of 3 tangent of x equals negative square root of 3. All right, so remember, when you're solving equations, you want to get your trig value by itself. So I'm going to divide this by the square root of 3. All right, and so this ends up giving you actually a -1. So we have tangent of x. So we're looking for some angle value of tangent that gives you a -1. Now, if you think about tangent is y over x. So that means that if you divide two things here, one of them is going to be a positive and negative, and the other one's going to have to be a negative positive. I'm just circling here because there's some value here, right? We have to come up with that value. So if you look at the quadrants, which one's going to have a negative x and a positive y? That would be quadrant 2, negative x, positive y. And then a positive x and a negative y would be quadrant 4. So positive, negative. So it's going to end up being in these two quadrants. All right. And then if you look at, this is actually a number on your unit circle. If you look at your ordered pairs on the unit circle, which one, but dividing your x and your y would give you 1? Well, that would have to be the ordered pair, the square root of 2 over 2 and square root of 2 over 2. And so obviously one of these is going to be negative. And so you would have either one of these ordered pairs. And so when you look on the unit circle, that one is going to give you 3 pi over 4 as your first one. And then the other one would be 7 pi over 4. Okay. So this one was actually a number on the unit circle, which was nice. And just knowing that if you divide your 2 x and your y, to get a 1, it would have to be replicas of the 45-degree angle. Oh, excuse me. All right. So those are some examples of 3.3a. Let's look at 3.3b. Let's look at question 3. All right, wait. Question 2. It's one of the more difficult questions. So they wanted you to solve 2 secant squared of x is equal to 3 minus the tangent of x on the interval 0 to 2 pi. All right, so it's important when you're solving equations with trig identities that the easiest way to do this is to get them so that they have the same identity or the same trig value. So if I look at the secant squared of x, is there a way that I could rewrite this so that it's actually the tangent? And if you think about it, one of the identities is secant squared of x is the same thing as 1 plus tangent squared of x. Okay, it's one of the identities. That's why it's so important that you guys know all of these. And so now I'm going to try to solve this. So this is 2 plus 2 tangent squared of x equals 3 minus tangent of x. Now, if you think about this, this is a squared. So I'm thinking that it's going to be a quadratic. So I'm going to move everything over. So we have 2 plus 2 tangent squared of x minus 3 plus tangent of x equals 0. So I'm moving everything over. So this becomes a -1. So we have 2 tangent squared of x plus tangent of x minus 1 equals 0. And the easiest way to solve this, guys, would be to use u substitution. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to let u be equal to the tangent of x. So this becomes 2u squared plus u minus 1 equals 0. And so we have learned ways to solve quadratics. You should know the ways to solve quadratic is factor, quadratic formula. When I factor this, remember you multiply the last term by the first term, and we want 2 numbers that multiply to give you -2, but add to give you the middle term, which is 1. And so that's going to have to be obviously a 1 and a 2, and it's going to have to be a -1. And so what that means is this becomes a 1u, a -1u, and a 2u. And so you put these in the, so this becomes 2u squared minus 1u, 2u, and a -1. And so then we factor out, this will be a 2u here. This will be a -1 here, a u here, and a 1 here. And so you check it, 2u times u is 2u squared, and 1 times u is -1u, 1 times 2u, and -1. So our factor becomes 2u minus 1 times u plus 1 equals 0. And you set both of those equal to 0 to solve it. And so you get u equals -1 and a u equals 1/2. All right, and so then what we end up doing is we put our trig value back in. So tangent of x equals -1 and tangent of x equals 1/2. And then what you can do is you can look on the unit circle to see what would give you these values. And remember, we just did this one on the last problem. And so it was what, 3 pi over 4 was one answer and 7 pi over 4. And then this one's not on the unit circle. So what you would end up having to do is to plug this in the calculator. And let's see what we get. So, second tan 25. And really we could just leave this answer. I think that the period here is plus pi, because remember the period of tangent is pi. So really you could leave your answer like this. Is that one. All right, last question I'm gonna do. Question 4. All of these are kind of similar questions, so hopefully this helps. This is 6 cosine squared of x plus 5 sine of x minus 7 equals 0. And again, you want to change something so that they all have the same trig value. So I'm going to look at this. I'm going to say, okay, cosine squared of x. If you remember one of your trig identities, sine squared of x plus cosine squared of x equals 1. So cosine squared of x is the same thing as 1 minus sine squared of x. And then we just rewrite everything else. Okay. And now we're going to try to solve this. This is 6 minus 6 sine squared of x. It's 5 sine of x minus 7. And I can combine these. This would be negative 6 sine squared of x plus 5 sine of x minus 1 equals 0. And then I can move everything over. So I don't like working with a negative here. So I'm going to move this over, this, this. So you get 0 equals 6 sine squared of x minus 5 sine of x minus 1. Oh, this should be, yeah, okay. Plus 1. Sorry. All right. So now we can do what we did on the last problem. We'll let u be equal to sine of x this time. So this becomes 6u squared minus 5u plus 1. And so I'm going to factor this thing, and you end up with, just to save on time, 2u minus 1 times 3u minus 1. You set both equal to 0. Add 1, by 2. So 1/2 equals u. Add 1, by 3. And you get that. And then the last thing we would do is do sine of x equal to 1/2, and then sine of x equal to 1/3. And so that means you're looking for the y value is equal to 1/2. And you can plug these in the calculator. This would be 0.52359. And again, if you're thinking about sine, it's this value here and this value. So whatever value you get here, this 0.52, this is 0.52359. To find from here to here, you would have to do pi minus that to get the other value. And so the other value would be pi minus 0.52359, and you get 2.62. And the same thing for this one. This would be 0.3398, and you would do the same thing, pi minus that, and you would get 2.8017. So these are the answers for this equation. Okay. All right. If you guys have any other questions, please feel free to email me, and I will be happy to help you guys on it.